guess we got one person in here. Let's see who it is. Oh, this truck and life. Well, you're the first one in here, so um, see who else comes. I figured, I wasn't. I was thinking about going on live tonight, but Cash and DIY were doing their thing, so. And then I was just watching a few of these videos here about this train strike or whatnot. A couple union guys talking, and I was like, I guess I'll maybe shoot on here and see who shows up. At least I'll do it for a half hour, an hour, or whatnot before I hit the sack. I sent I sent F8 truck and Sterling a message, but I don't have their email, so I don't know if they'll show up or not. Oh, geez, yeah, that's a little bit of a wait. Uh, I actually, I didn't really do anything today, really. Um, like I said, I got put in their chat. I was looking at some loads, and a lot of it's going to Maine, New England, and I just simply don't want to go over there. And as soon as anything in my area popped up going to Midwest or whatnot, it was gone. I couldn't even get a hold of the brokers. That's how many people were calling. Uh, and I had the choice that I could still deadhead like another 200 miles, but man, the deadhead's getting a little boring now. I'm tired of deadheading. Um, let's say I posted that Landstar load of salt. It was $400 for like 450 miles for a 48,000 pounds load of salt going out to what was up here in the Finger Lakes of New York, going out to Ohio. So I don't know who the hell can run for $400, but whoever it is, good luck to them, I guess. All right, well, we got two people in here. Uh, see if anybody else shows up. I guess I'll post the link here in the comments too. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Apparently it's not going to let me do it. All right, let's try this again. There we go. Jeez, don't want to paste. Just trucking life. If you want to come here, I don't care. It's better than just staring off into space here. Well, anywho, I guess since I got a small audience, I guess I'll just keep this video up. Maybe on the replay, somebody will see it. So it looks like the union workers for the rail industry are planning on going on strike, and a couple of the videos I watched is they're pretty much complaining about. They're pretty much complaining about you know, hours and that they get no home time and everything, and then of course pay and benefits, and that's pretty much the same same spiel they have for, most truck drivers have too, long hours, low pay. I'd imagine though, I don't know. I guess it depends what part of the railroad you're on, or if you're with a local, smaller regional railroad, or if you're with one of the big ones. I know most of the guys working on the Norfolk Southern and Union Pacific and stuff, they can easily hit $100,000 no problem, and the engineers are up there too. So um, I guess it is what it is. I guess maybe they haven't seen a raise. I don't know exactly what their contracts look like, but if they plan on going on strike, I could imagine it. It could help or hurt rates. It all depends on what ends up happening. I know I was just watching something about the Biden administration. I guess they were looking to truckers for help, and I guess that all depends. Um, through the pandemic, technically we're the heroes, but I would say now it's just business as usual. You know, I can't really talk about the, uh, you know, what was it, the convoy to Washington D.C. or Maryland or anything. Apparently, I don't think that really went that well, but uh, it all depends. Um, a lot of fuel moves by train, a lot of stuff for the fuel and additives for oil or moved all by train. It all it all depends. It could either help us or hurt us, and if that happens, we might see rates shoot up. I'd imagine we're going to, at least short term, but we'll have the same problems. I think that we had during the pandemic. Just maybe there might end up being part shortages because containers ain't going to be moved. Um, there's going to probably be fuel shortages, DEF shortages. I remember what was it? Oh, the CEO of Pilot and Flying J was talking about how much of their DEF or fuel or whatever is moved on train. So, I don't think it's going to come to a grinding halt, but I bet you it's going to slow way down. And I bet you they're not going to work as efficiency, as normally. Um, they would. Hopefully, they don't overlook safety and cause a giant disaster too. But I guess time will tell. So I guess what I'm trying to get across here is we might actually end up in a boom here for a little bit. I don't know if it'll continue. It all depends. And if it picks back up, that'll be good for the short term. But like I said, long term, like I said, we might be having fuel shortages, um, problems with um, what is it? Problems with finding oil again and whatnot. So it all depends. I'm trying to think when I restarted this video, I actually put a photo back on. I think I might just start it live again with no thumbnail. That might be why there aren't many people in here. Um, but uh, yeah, I would like to say what's your take on it, but I guess it's just really your truck and life uh, that's here right now. So I guess like you said, you pull power only, so if anything, you might end up seeing an uptick in moving containers for the short term, or at least cross dock, some LTL probably. I don't know if Amazon. I saw you doing Amazon there the other day. I don't know if Amazon moves much stuff by train. I mean, I guess they move containers, but I never really seen an Amazon warehouse that had train, actual like rail coming into it. So, I guess it all depends. Well, guess I'll keep this up for a little bit, and then if no one else really comes in, or I don't see F8 show up or Sterling, I guess I'll call it quits here. Oh well, there's two people here. You know, whatever you would like to talk about, just throw it up in the chat. Just winging it tonight. Uh, Talking about pretty much how we think the railroad situation might affect trucking, whether it be good or bad. I think it's going to be a mixed feelings with that. I think it's going to start out really good, and you know, slowly start turning into lack of fuel, lack of additives for oil. The whole nine yards. I don't know about parts per se, but like I said, a lot of parts still come overseas on containers, and the railroad does move a lot of containers. Look at Schneider. Look at their operation. So I guess it all depends. Uh, this could either be a make you or break you kind of moment here. And according to, the Obama, I mean, yeah, the Obama, the Biden, I just bought my own trailer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're gonna have to get the trailer interchange back up. I think I'd really raise it up that much. You might see like a $40 a month. Maybe not even that, depending on who your insurance is. You ain't gonna see that much of a jump putting trailer interchange on. As long as well, if you've hauled Amazon, should you've had trailer interchange, haven't you? I'd imagine if you hauled Amazon, I think they require like a certain amount of trailer interchange too. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure if there ain't really anybody to talk to either on Amazon. This trucking life. Too bad you can't actually get in contact with anybody. It's all computer. But maybe it'll definitely probably pick up. Uh, well, I thought you still had to have trailer interchange insurance if you have power only, because technically you're hauling their trailer, right? That's the one I always thought. Oh, you had it removed. Okay. Yeah. So that's that could definitely pick up then. I wouldn't see why it wouldn't. Pretty much, what would happen is, instead of going to the whatever, what did you say it was? Yeah, the BNSF yards, you'd probably end up running between, they'd probably transfer the containers into a, what do they call them, a cross dock, and then they'd cross dock them into an Amazon trailer, I guess, and, you know, either ship them out to the warehouse or just bring the whole container to the warehouse. It's probably going to be a bit of both if it goes, south for that. So that might be a big boom um, for stuff like that. I'm sure everyone's going to hop on it though. Even with that, I have mixed emotions. I look at most truck drivers as my brother. That or at least colleague. It depends, I guess, how professional you are, whether or not I look at you like that. Um, that I could care less about your nationality or anything like that. If you're willing to learn and learn the right way and try, I have no problem. Um, it's the guys that are just out here. I guess they're not willing to learn, or they just I don't know. They think that they're making a killing when they're really not, and they're just unprofessional, dirty. Yeah, just giving a bad name to like what used to be a blue collar middle class profession. I guess that kind of bothers me. But what I think is going to happen is if this boom pops back in here, it's going to keep a lot of guys afloat that had no reason being in this business in the first place, and just so happened they hit the boom. Um, and it gave them a lot of um, it gave them a lot of cushioning, to stay in it and get where they're at. So, yo, what's up, Sterling? Yeah, so like I said, it gave them a lot of cushion to stay in it as long as they did. So I think if the boom comes here with the railroad shutting down, if it picks up, which like I said, it'll probably be a short-lived pickup, but because we'll start running into supply issues with our own products like fuel and DEF and additives for oil. It'll just be like it was during the pandemic probably again. So, uh, yeah, they're dangerous. Yeah, that's true. And like I said, the market right now is showing that those people are still hanging in there. Um, and it's just, the market's saturated right now. And if this happens, I'm sure it's gonna relight, because rates will probably come up. I'd imagine rates will at least come up, I don't know, 20, 30%, maybe more, depending on how frantic it gets. Um, and it'll probably be mostly necessity things that'll first kick in, like fuel, coal. It'll probably be a lot of bulk hauling and stuff first, and then probably eventually steel and stuff like that. Um, and I don't know about containers. I'd imagine, with containers, they'll have to start doing a lot of cross docking and whatnot to, fulfill Amazon and all that. So it's all it's all matter of fact. But then again, if you think a lot of these like Snyder, Walmart, they move a lot of their trailers too by freight. So there's going to be a pickup in that. Uh, if the trailers are just sitting there, they're not getting where they got to be. There's some refrigerator. I know there's some refrigerated that moves on 53 foot reefers that go on trucks. I mean on trains. So it's all a matter of what exactly happens and how long it lasts. Yep, JB Hunt. Yep. Uh, who is it? Home Depot. The Home Depot account. I'm sure that'll be all hands on deck for that. Um, and it's just going to be a matter of what exactly conspires and how long it goes. Me personally, I don't think we should pick up the slack that much. If this does turn into what it might turn into, we'll get a pat on the back, and that's just about it. It's just like this week, I've seen tons of blitzes, at least here on the East Coast between Pennsylvania and New York and stuff, of I guess you want to call it driver appreciation week for us drivers. 30 plus inspectors at the rest areas and stuff. Uh, I mean, sure, if you shouldn't be on the road, you shouldn't be on the road, but it's just they picked a hell of a week to do that. So I'm gonna throw a link in here again, I guess, see if anybody wants to pop in. Whoops. Like I said, I'm still new here to StreamYard, so I don't know exactly what the hell I'm doing, but just throwing a link in there if anybody wants to pop on. I know there ain't a lot of people here. Uh, you know, it might change. At least on the replay, somebody's gonna see it. So most of the empty trailers FedEx and UPS used. Yeah, yeah, and a lot of there's a lot of stuff that you never really think of it that I don't know. I don't know if they put it on rail. That stuff's mostly overnight, but I'd imagine like FedEx moves a lot of medicine, a lot of medical supplies and stuff. So all that stuff will probably convert over if any of it's actually gets put on the train. It'll probably get it'll everything will pick up. There'll probably be places looking for trailers. Um, it like I do see rates coming back up if this is really what happens because it's going to squeeze the market capacity just in general. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. What's up?
Not much, man. Uh, I'm a big fan of yours. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going good for right now. I guess you could say. Could be better.
Man, for some reason my headphones aren't, it's not connected to my headphones. That's weird.
I
Keep
can hear
trying.
you. I can hear you fine. I can't see you though. Oh, he's gone again. Yeah, well, especially since we're coming into, I mean, a lot of stuff's already moved for Christmas and everything and Thanksgiving. I don't know what's going to happen with the turkeys this year. That's going to be, up in arms. I guess it just depends. You might see a real high peak out of the areas that weren't really hit with bird flu. I know some of these turkey farms got hit really bad, and it was devastating. So if if the turkeys come out this year pretty decent in some areas, that's going to be good for reefer. Um, but I'm thinking a lot of Christmas stuff is just sitting in warehouses somewhere, just waiting to get probably transported. Because I've already seen a lot of it starting to come out, on the shelves and stuff. It's not even freaking Halloween yet. You got Christmas stuff, starting to trickle out. So, and I highly doubt it's going to be a strong year for uh, consumer confidence for buying stuff. I don't. No, it's all right. It's all right. You can click back in and whatnot. Um, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a strong year for consumer confidence at all. It's hard to tell whether this is whether it's gonna be a doom and gloom market. It hasn't got that bad yet, but it's getting there. So, and like I said, this railroad strike might either be a good thing or a bad thing or temporary. It might end up being kind of like how the pandemic was, where it was miserable. Well, probably the opposite, like turn it around backwards. Probably be really good at the beginning, and then if it lasts for a decent amount of time, it might get kind of miserable. It might be, you know, instead of getting your oil changed to 20,000 miles, you might be pushing out to 40,000 miles, or looking for oil on the shelves again and everything else. We haven't had that really in a little bit. It's kind of calmed way down with the part shortages and oil and stuff, but it all it all depends on what's really happening. Uh, Peak buildup, yeah, Sterling. So, anybody got anything to add to that? Where do you think maybe this is all going to go? Kind of running out of steam, I guess you could say. Uh, yeah, off the top of my head, it's basically all I got. Uh, I've watched these union guys make a few. He's coming back in here. Hey, hey, what's up? You got your stuff working now?
Yeah, I got it working. I mean, I don't know why it won't let me talk to you on the headphones, but it's fine.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you good now.
Yeah, but yeah, I was hearing what you were saying. I pretty much agree with you. Like, I don't think people are gonna have the confidence to really go out and shop like they did, under the last president we had. I think
Yeah,
everything is so tight with inflation. People are gonna hold on to their money.
yeah, I thinking the same thing. From sticking, I'm reading what this just trucker life said. Hope that everyone doesn't get involved. Nothing good comes from them. Yeah, that's for sure. Sticking their heads in where it don't belong. Yeah, that's for sure. There, this trucking. Um, yeah, I don't think consumer confidence is there at all. I think it's just going to get worse. There's already articles about repossessions going up and everything. And now with the stock market tanking the way it has, it's probably just going to get worse. I can imagine. I'm sure people are looking at their 401ks going like, what the hell is going to happen?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I watch a lot of these trucking videos, and obviously we're talking about the fuel price. Well, we thought the fuel prices were going to continue to go down. They didn't go down, and the rates have continued to go down. And you talked about even flatbed was pretty good. Then that's continued to go down, but nobody's talking about the fact that truckers aren't the only ones feeling it. We're probably better off than the rest of the country because I think the rest of the country is feeling it too. Regardless
Well,
of whatever industry you're in, you're
yeah,
probably feeling.
well, I talked about the Amazon warehouses pulling out, them not building their extra facilities in a few other states, and right there, you pull out those contracts, they had prefab walls ordered. You had concrete slabs, for the property. You had the people that own the property that Amazon was going to go into. You had the workers that Amazon was going to hire. All those people just lost out of all that work, all that money going around in the economy. Um, I know the prefab place down by me. They're starting to lay off guys and talking about contracts that have gone south and orders that have been canceled. Uh, when warehouses stop building, you know that things ain't going to start moving and things aren't getting stored. That's just the whole entire economy slowing down. So I mean, we'll see it, but it doesn't hit us as hard. I would say it's like a slow, gradual descent. But when it does eventually kick in, it's gonna be bad just because right now we're over capacity for. If this was a slow, gradual descent of the economy, it probably wouldn't have been so bad. But since this has happened in such a short period of time, I would say this has been really going south since April because that's when I had a reefer, and I went. Specifically remember having a reefer load. I went. No, it wasn't a reefer load. It was a water load to Costco's out in Long Island, and I pulled up the load board to go see what was around me, and within 100 miles there was only like 30 loads, out in Long Island. And I wasn't that far, I had New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and it was just dead. And ever since I would say April this year, it's really been, it really dropped off the market in general for everybody. Um, there's still guys that have contract freight and that are doing really good, but I imagine it's only a matter of time before contracts get, before they start noticing that the spot market's tanked so much that they start, reneging on their contracts and putting stuff on the spot market for dirt cheap. So maybe capacity will come back up again, but it's not going to be anywhere near the numbers we saw. Not with the way the fuel is and parts. Like nothing for us has went down at all. Nothing has gotten cheaper. Fuel
Absolutely.
fuel was about the only thing that got cheaper. But even then, when people think of fuel getting cheaper, they see the news and they just automatically assume if gas is going down, that diesel's going down, and you know it has. I mean, you can find mom and pop places that are posting fuel for like $4 a gallon and stuff, but for the majority of us, unless if you're running main routes and stuff, you're still seeing at least like 5.20 a gallon or at least 4.80. The higher fours
Yeah,
for
100%.
fuel. And that wouldn't be
It
bad
was
if
looking
rates were
good. It was
if
looking
rates were
good
still
with the
okay.
fuel.
Yeah, yeah. If rates were still kind of good, I'm not saying great, but if they were still kind of good, it'd be great. It would work out still. It'd still be a balance. But when you start seeing flatbed loads, being shipped down to Florida for $2 a mile from the Northeast and stuff, or less than $2 a mile, something's up. Uh, it just doesn't make it's almost doesn't even make sense to even do it unless you're just going home. But how many times can everybody go home? How many times can everybody do a backhaul?
I 100% because I'm leasing this truck. I'm not leasing. Renting this truck, and I just got the call. My truck's fixed, but my paycheck is going to be 300 bucks, 300 and some bucks from last week. We had a holiday and everything, but still, man, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that was a horrible holiday. We like a lot of guys even stayed working, and it just I don't know if that's what really didn't break. I'm guessing a lot of guys had to work. That's why, but it didn't. The rates didn't jump up like everybody thought they would, at least a little bit around the holiday.
I mean, I was sitting on Monday. I wasn't working, but No, I didn't see anything extra either. But I'm what I'm saying is with the overhead, you throw in the fuel. I mean, this because I have the same engine as you, so my engine doesn't get as good. This is a X15 in this 2023, and so my truck doesn't get as good fuel mileage as this truck. But when you're throwing in the payment and everything, like you say, it's not worth it with these rates right now. So it's interesting to see where it's gonna head because it's gonna be hard for people to stay afloat like this. You're barely making any money right now.
Yeah. Well, a lot of these guys came in here with the same overhead, and when I talk about overhead, I mean you got if you have a family and stuff, whether that be a girlfriend or your wife and kids or whatnot, that's an overhead. Your home expenses are an overhead. If sure you can balance that out either way, but if you can't make home expenses, then why are you even out here? Uh, so the guys jumped in this, and when rates were good, and they just went hog wild, side by sides, new pickup trucks. But we're okay with the $3,000 or $4,000 a month truck payments. They thought it would never end, and apparently it hasn't. I didn't even think it was going to be this bad. I thought it'd be a gradual decline. Um, I didn't think it would all happen like within like a couple week period, and then just continue to flutter along here. Um, like I said, if you're with a carrier right now that actually has uh, like a customer and contract rates, you're probably doing really, pretty good right now. Especially, you probably got your 70 cents or 60 cents fuel discount. Even though that discount's probably off already inflated, fuel prices, because you'll go buy these pilots and flying J's and stuff and TAs, and you'll see gas at like $3.30, but you'll see diesel still at like 5.50 a gallon. So they didn't really move the needle much for us at all. That all went to the what they consider the voting public. Those any of those costs, just to keep them happy. Uh, so
Well, something
it's
something doesn't sit right with me with the prices because uh like DEF is like $4 or something, right? And I'm like, okay, well the diesel prices went up. DEF isn't made out of diesel, so why would the DEF price go up, right?
they're just going to say cost of goods or cost of manufacturing. That's all. They're just going to to be honest, when DEF first came out, I remember it being pretty damn cheap. Uh, shit, I think it was like $1.20 a gallon or something when they first started all this, and then it slowly sat around like I think $2 a gallon for a long time. But it's almost doubled. It's doubled actually. I've noticed. Now some places you'll find DEF cheaper, but it's just a lot of these truck stops, they're really inflating fuel prices and DEF prices. So
I agree with you.
like everyone says, get mud flap. Um, try to stay out of these bigger chains. Even some of these guys that have these 30 or 40 cent discounts. Some of these discounts, yeah, sure, you're still saving 40 or 50 cents, but guess what? You're still getting ripped off like another 40 cents. Uh, mud flap I've noticed is even been cheaper than some of these large carrier discount programs. It's just because the prices are so inflated,
Well,
especially with the big chains like the TAs, the pilots, and everything.
well, I know I'm with I'm with one of the carriers out of Chicago.
Yeah,
Copy and paste.
I'm with a Chicago carrier, but I would say they're not your typical Chicago carrier.
Yeah. What's your? Were you mentioning your own fuel discount when you said the 30, 40 cents?
No, that's just usually what most carriers are, like 30 or 40 cents. We don't even have we used to when I first signed on with you, they did have a discount. Um, and then I guess they changed their operations and moved to Gary, Indiana. And I wasn't with them then, but now they pretty much promote Loves. But I'm not 100% sure if they actually got a discount with Loves and they're just keeping it. But I only see 10 cents with Loves, which is ain't no discount at all. So I usually try
Well,
to use Mudflap. Yeah, I usually try to use Mudflap as much as I can. But if I'm somewhere cheap, like out in Ohio and stuff, and I'm only near Loves, I'll use a Loves. But but then again, if I can get in a mud flap real easy, I'll use mud flap. So, and that
well,
that can easily lower your cost per mile down, like at least 10 cents, 15 cents. Just use a mud flap with fuel.
yeah, definitely. I've never tried mudflat, but I've heard good things about it. A lot of people talk about it, but I know a lot of these companies out of Chicago. They all use Pilot Flying J, and they give you a fuel card, and that's all you can use.
Well, that's
And
because it's the
I went
easiest.
and got my own fuel card. Go ahead.
That's the easiest to get hooked up with. Like, it was really easy for me to get hooked up with a Flying J fuel card, and then I looked at their terms for their I figured it would give me like at least a net 14 or maybe a net 30. They gave me a net 7. I said, what's the point of even having this? You might as well just a net 7 at the end of the week. You might as well just have be paying cash anyway. But then also what some of these carriers do, if they do end up bargaining like a large discount, like let's say they do get 30 cents. Well, they'll just tell you like, hey, you get a 10% discount and they'll just pocket the 20 cents every time you fill up.
Well, that's what I was saying. What they used to give 15%. They went up to 30 earlier this year, which you know that's not here. But anyway, before it was 15 cents, right? When I was using their fuel card, and so I got my own fuel card, and the owner of the company calls me up and say, hey, I heard you got your own fuel card. Uh, why don't you use ours? I was like, no, I'm not interested. I'm just gonna go with my own. And he immediately offered me 25 cents. And I'm like,
That's because
well,
he's probably still making 40 cents or whatnot
exactly.
on the fuel card. Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. I own the truck. I own the title to the truck. I run the miles. My engine is the one that's doing the miles. I'm paying for the fuel. I'm doing everything. How are you pocketing money off the fuel that I'm buying? Like, what do you mean you can offer me an extra 10 cents? Like, where did that 10 cents come from?
I'm pretty sure all of them probably pocket at least 10 cents or more off of that fuel
Like,
that everyone's buying. I could not imagine them probably not, unless they're
well,
a very, very trustworthy, upstanding
well,
company.
I
But
can guarantee you that if he out of nowhere offers me now 25 cents, then the discount was not 25 cents. He's still
no,
keeping at least another 10, 15, 20 cents. So if he's offering me 25 back then, that means he was at least getting 35 cents or 45 cents while offering me 15. That's crazy to me. When I own the truck, I run the miles, I buy the fuel, that's crazy how they do that.
well, if you think about it, let's say you use one flap or whatever, and you fill up. Let's say you save $100 every week that you run. Well, there's $5,200 you just saved yourself at the end of the year. Now mostly everyone fills up twice a week, so you just saved yourself $10,400 at the end of the year. That's $10,400 that could go to whatever the hell you want.
Well, that's $10,000 they want in their pocket,
Yep,
which is what they're
yep.
trying to get you out of.
Now imagine if they do that with 50, 100, 200 trucks.
Big money, man.
Yep, yep, yep. It adds up.
Big
So
money. It's crazy, man.
but I wouldn't suspect anything less from a Chicago carrier usually. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I
but
mean, yeah,
right now, that little money adds up though, just the way it is. It's such cutthroat right now because in my opinion, I think truck capacity is just through the roof, and and the loads are down anyway. So now you just got like the perfect storm for for a really shitty freight market. And
yeah.
there's a shame because there's still guys out here, on YouTube talking about, go ahead and buy your truck, lease a truck, do this and that. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you're pretty much, you know, if you're going to at least do that, at least lay out exactly what's in front of them. Tell them that it's a really shitty market. Tell them that they're going to have to pinch pennies. They're going to have to watch their fixed costs, whether that be, with their business or at home. Tell them that they're going to, it's going to be a long shot. Don't just, uh, sing the praises of unicorns and butterflies and just to get views. Everybody likes watching the money making stuff and how you're going to be rich overnight and everything. Nobody really wants to watch uh, the guy getting his truck repossessed or having to jump back onto a company job after he lost his truck. And nobody really likes doing those videos, but that has to be put out there. Like me, I don't put no glitter on anything. When my rear goes, I tell you if it's costs this much, it costs this much. I'll tell you right now, I'm just hanging in there. I'm around for the ride. I don't necessarily, I'm not doing bad, but I'm not doing good. It probably, to be honest, if it got really bad, I'd probably just say screw it and uh, either try to find a different company lease onto, or that had at least direct freight, so I can keep afloat for a while, or yeah, I guess I would just run it out until I couldn't do it anymore, until it wasn't feasible. But you know, that's just the way it is right now. I came into this near the end of the gold rush, so if the truck didn't have so many problems, if I didn't break down constantly, I'd probably be doing really well right now. I could easily take weeks off and not worry about stuff. But I bought this truck for like 25,000. I put 10,000. I mean, I put $5,000 down on it, and then interest and everything brought it up to like 30 something. Um, my payment's pretty cheap. It's only $900 a month, and the biggest problem though is I probably put about almost another $30,000 in repairs in this truck, give or take. And a lot of that was even cheaper because a lot of the work I did myself. So
yeah, and that's what they're not telling people because I have very low overhead at home expenses, and I'm just hanging in there. And I own the
see,
truck, so
I'm the opposite. Technically, my overhead's low, but I have a I have an ex, so I have a daughter that I pay pretty hefty child support to. I got just your typical, of course, the old lady has to have a new car, so she's got the decent car payments. Like I think we refinanced it down to, I think it was $600 a month. I think it's like $500 a month now. Um,
that's got
but
to
the
be a
house,
nice car.
yeah, no, $500 a month is like your average car payment for just a Chevy Spark or whatever. Probably now, like that's just an out. I think it's like 585 or $600 a month is your average car payment in the United States, which is totally mind blowing.
What?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, go look at those new pickup trucks and stuff. They're all pickup trucks that you looked at pre-pandemic. That normally were $45,000 are now 60,000.
Yeah, well, yeah. I've been out of the loop. I've been out of the loop a long time because I used to
It's
sell
just
cars, but I've been out of the loop, man. People, how can they afford this stuff, man?
uh, what's it? I was looking at I think it was a base model Ford somebody put up, and they were talking about how it was like $68,000 or 65,000 for just a decent pickup truck. Nothing too fancy. The that Escalade, the Escalade Spec V, they're making an Escalade Spec V or whatever it is, a V. supercharged and all that. That's going to be like $200,000 that Escalade.
Yeah, it's too much. You can't even afford anything now.
Well, I mean, you
You
shouldn't be
can't
going
afford
out. You shouldn't
anything
be
that.
going. You shouldn't be going out buying an Escalade, but at least you should be able to buy a decent pickup truck. I don't mean like some little V6, little thing. You should at least be able to buy like a 1500. I would say $40,000 would be, base model. But they're putting so much stuff in these cars now. If I want to go look at a pickup truck, there'll be 20. There'll be out of 20 pickup trucks, only two will have maybe what I want. The rest will have leather, heated seats, air conditioned seats, this, that, and for what? So I can throw some lumber in it and throw the kids' bikes in it and mess up the side, scratch it up and shit eventually. Well, what do I want a 78,000 or 40, or $100,000 pickup truck for to beat up and use?
Yeah,
But
and then
that's just
and then these people they get the Jeep Wranglers and the pickup trucks. Then they got to put different tires, different rims. You got to get it lifted. Then you got to put the little fenders on the side. So just buying it's just a start.
well that too. But you know what? You think about a lot of people live on credit. Like the only reason I probably don't have a lot of nice things is my credit was screwed up from the divorce, and it was probably for almost a good 10 years. It was messed up, and just now it's finally come around and getting decent. But now the economy's so bad that credit's not really they're not really handing out credit like they were. And I think with a lot of the the trucking and even the car industry, I think we're going to have a bubble. Um, I don't know if it's going to be like the housing industry back in 2008 and when it all went under, but all these guys out here that got these $3,000 a month trucks and stuff. What happens when these all start getting repoed and nobody's going out and everyone's got messed up credit, nobody's going out and purchasing this stuff, it's all hitting the auction lot. Like these banks are going to be holding the bag, on all this equipment, which is probably going to be good. It's going to be real cheap if you have money or can get financed. But that's going to depend whether or not the economy jumps back at all either. So
Yeah, it's a lot going on. They call it I think I read something on
yeah, let's
YouTube.
go,
They were
Brandon.
saying
Yep, yep,
they call it the
yep,
everything bubble.
yeah. DIY is in the house. He just said, "Yep." The good old FJB. Yep, exactly. But it's just getting there with between there's still there's like I said with the spot market, there's guys that are running the spot market only, and there's just so much capacity that this is what we got. It's like a race to the bottom, and there's guys that are definitely desperate, that are taking this stuff. I've been trying to stay above $2 a mile. I will not, especially a flatbed. Like I feel bad enough taking anything under 250 a mile, but like my average. Let's see, my average last week was only $2.15 a mile. That's the lowest I've ever done in flatbed.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw your video. You talked about that.
and
That's
and
great.
even
That
if I
that that
and that
that
if
that.
I really if I really babied this truck, I could probably get it to 7, on flat ground. But just as soon as it's only a direct 10. As soon as I hit hills, the engine's killing itself to haul with because it's a direct 10 with really high gears. So they sure on flat ground it gets good fuel economy. The transmission's like bulletproof, because it's a direct 10. It's set up for as a company truck for guys that don't know what they're doing. Um, but it doesn't get that good fuel mileage, even sitting around 60, 65 mile an hour. It's just, on flat ground, it'll do great. But as soon as it hits any kind of a hill or it gets into like Pennsylvania and stuff, it's gonna eat fuel. Maybe not as much as it could, but I'm still gonna be only maybe hitting 6.5, uh, and that's just the way it is.
My truck's the exact same, but mine's is a automatic 10 speed. But like you said, I can get pretty good fuel mileage in the Midwest, especially if I got a light load. Like I've gotten over 7 miles per gallon before. but it's got to be flat. And it's got to be like 5,000, 10,000 pounds. You know.
You know what's really probably killing that ISX in your truck is only having that 10 speed. If you had like a 13, it probably would do a lot better. You could keep the RPMs lower because you're probably sitting at when you're doing like what 65, 70 mile an hour, you're probably sitting at what 1600 RPM, right?
No, I mean I run around 60 miles per hour, like because when I first got the truck, I had over 800,000 miles on it, and so I just was babying it because it just wasn't strong before I got an overhaul done on it. So I like running 60 anyway.
So what you're what right around 1500 RPM then?
No, it's just about 13, 5, 13 and a half,
Oh, 13 and a half. Oh, well,
around
yeah,
60.
that's where you want to be is right around there. You know, I'm probably right around four. At 65, I'm right around 14. If I get up in the 70s, close to 70, I'll do 15. Anything up over that, you know, there's just, you know, it just starts screaming. I would say, you know, when you start getting up over 14 or 15 on RPM, you just start sucking fuel down in most diesel engines.
But you know, I keep the RPMs real high when I'm climbing them on the mountains.
Well, yeah, Cummins, they're not like they're not like cats and stuff. They like a little bit higher RPM. Uh, the newer ones, I'm not 100% sure, but I know usually with these older 870s, your RPM band is like right around 4. I mean your torque band is right. I think right around 14 to 1800 RPM or something like that. And then
Yeah,
you
I
know you have
always go on the mountains. I try and get it up over 15 if I can. Like
yeah. So
sometimes
I
it'll,
mean I
with
mean
the
a
automatic, it'll shift itself though.
yeah, well, a newer engine like yours, a lot of newer engines are made to have more torque and lower RPMs.
No,
Um,
I'm not talking
you
about.
know,
No, I'm talking about my truck. I'm not talking about this X15. This is just a rental.
oh,
No,
oh,
because my
oh,
truck, I got the same engine as you. Because you got a
you got the
'07,
same.
right?
Okay. Yeah. I thought you had a brand new, like a newer truck. I thought you said it was like a 2020 or
Yeah, I've
something.
written this truck. This is not my truck. I've
Oh,
written this
okay.
truck. No, and I'm giving
Oh,
this
okay.
truck back because
Oh, okay.
this truck is like $1,000 a week plus 10 cents a mile plus 125 and a week in physical damage. This truck is expensive, man. This the latest greatest shoe shine, man. 2023.
$1,000 a week, man.
And
Yeah, I can see
thousand
why
dollars a
you're.
week to just start off. Then even the other fees that got to go with it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why my paycheck's about to be $300 this week.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, that'll definitely put it in there for you, man.
This is how you make money. You buy this new truck and then you rent it or lease it out to somebody like me. That's how you make money.
Well, here's what the mega carriers do. The mega carriers, they'll get these newer trucks. They automatically know that they're gonna have problems. So if they can at least lease a few of them out, and you know, and for lease purchase, the problems don't bother them. They just call up the warranty company and get the truck fixed. You know, they lose some revenue on the truck. That's about it. Um, but you know, it's not as bad. But they'll take these trucks. They'll have the company drivers run them. They'll do them until the warranty is just about out. They'll do extended maintenance intervals on them. You know, 50,000 mile oil changes and whatnot. And you know, I'm not saying that's bad for them. I'm not really saying it's good. Me personally, you know, I probably on a newer truck with you know maybe synthetic oil and stuff in it. You know, one I don't like this 1030 BS. Um, you know, sure the bearing journals and stuff might be you know a thousandths tighter or you know or whatnot or you know to use the 1030, but in my opinion, yeah, heavier weight oil, you know, sure you might lose a little bit of fuel mileage, the 10 thousandths of a mile per gallon because you know the fuel pump. I mean the oil pump's working harder, but you know the heavier weight oil it doesn't break down and it's not as watery. I guess you could say the viscosity doesn't break down as you know as easy at higher temperatures. And in my opinion, it's a better hydraulic layer protecting your bearings. You know, Sure, you can overdo it. You know, if you poured like, 75, 90 weight in or something like that, I wouldn't advise doing that. But like most race car engines, when you like, even the BMWs and stuff, when you take those out the track and you run them hard, they recommend a heavier weight oil, to keep that I guess that hydraulic pressure between the bearings, and to keep the oil from thinning out. So, in my opinion, I wouldn't do none of these 60 to 100,000 mile oil changes that the pack car and all of them are saying that you can do. I would use a good brand name oil. Maybe I would stretch it out to 30,000, maybe 40,000. Especially if you're getting oil analysis. If that's how you want to save money, but I wouldn't go anything farther than that. Not with the soot that gets put back in these engines. If you think about it, they literally use carbon. Like I'm out here in the coal country, so they actually take this carbon, the fine powdered particles, and they use this for media blasting material. Well, now you just imagine super fine carbon material in your engine, media blasting material floating around. you know, that's not the best thing to have in your engine. So,
And you say that's dope. What type of water has that?
what the all the newer trucks that have these regen systems and stuff, they get all that carbon in them, carbon packing. It feeds it all right back into the engine. And there's a lot of these manufacturers that are putting out like 50,000 mile oil change intervals, 100,000 mile oil change intervals, and
Yeah, I mean,
that
I
carbon.
used a synthetic in my truck once, and the bottle said you can go 100 miles before your next oil change. But I still change mines between. I try and do it early before 10,000, but if I'm not making as much money, I might stretch it to 15. But I mean, that's with anything conventional, synthetic. I don't pay attention to that 100,000 miles they got on the
With
bottle. That's
with
crazy.
with this truck, I do an oil analysis. At least, well, I got one more kit I got to order somewhere, but I do an oil analysis. And when I first got it, the oil analysis was a little bit scary, but you gotta do oil analysis ain't just automatically going to tell you whether or not you're losing your bearings. You got to keep a long track record of it, and when you start seeing dramatic changes over time of those readings, then you start noticing something's not right. Like if all of a sudden like coolant shows up or if certain metals show up, something's not right. So like I'll do oil analysis and I change my oil at about 20 to 25,000 miles, which basically if I do 100,000 miles a year, that's what, 5 oil changes a year. So it's it's a little more cost effective. There's some guys that talk about changing oil every 10,000 miles. I don't think you have to do it that much, but at least get the oil analyzed, see if there's actually still friction fighting additives, and the oil hasn't broke down at all. That's the best way to judge your mileage. Like I said, I probably wouldn't go any more maybe than 30 or 40,000 miles, especially on a newer engine. Um,
So you're
just
saying,
because you're feeding the carbon into it.
oh yeah, I mean, I that's one thing I don't like about this new truck is like you can tell when it's reaching, and you can hear like the engine, the RPMs go up.
Oh, you can hear it. You can tell it sucks down more fuel. Like I had a pack car that would do regens. And it would eat DEF too. Sometimes it would just fly through it like no tomorrow. Um, but it's that if you think about it, you got a newer truck, that's an added cost, DEF, and then all that other emissions, components to go bad. And like I said, that's fine if you have a warranty, but it would be different. It would be different if you had a new truck and you had a warranty on it. And let's say like your normal car. Let's say you have a car, and something goes wrong. You call up the dealership. They tell you to bring it in. You bring the car in. They look at it usually that day, usually maybe the next day, and within maybe that same day or after that, depending on how big the job is, you get your car back in 2 or 3 days. Well, with the semi trucks, the way it goes, you bring your truck in, you go in there and they tell you, well, we might have it in today or tomorrow, or and then the truck sits. It'll sit for 3 or 4 days. So they just hook a computer to it. Then they hook a computer to it. They tell you what might be wrong to it, what sensors they're seeing. They don't even really get under there and do too much. They just really hook the computer to it and tell you, well, if these sensors need replaced, this is what your bill is going to be, and this is how long it's going to be. Then they actually get to checking the sensors and get in there. Next thing you know, they find a wiring harness frayed and this and that. And next thing you know, your truck's down for 2 or 3 weeks, and then maybe another week for waiting for parts. And now, you lost a whole month of revenue on a $2,000 a month truck. Truck. Oh, hope you had 10 grand sitting around just for that to happen. Let alone, God forbid, you had to get it towed for $2,000 or $1,500 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you keep mentioning these $2,000 and $3,000 trucks, man. I don't know where you get those numbers from. Trucks are expensive now, man. Like people paying 3,000-4,000 a month, for these trucks. I know this one, like I said, 1,000 a week. That's
Well,
4,000.
the truck you're in right now is probably the guy put $40,000 down on it or $30,000 down on it. It's probably a 6-year loan, and like I said, as soon as the warranty runs out, he's going to lease it. Lease purchase it out, or he'll auction it and probably get what's left of the loan back, and he'll just do the same process with another truck. That's why these mega carriers, that if you really turn this into a business, that's how you turn it into a business. You recycle, you buy new, you don't have any money going out, and the only thing you're going to really lose is revenue. But if you have another truck, if you have a backup truck, you can just switch the driver over to the truck, into the backup truck and keep going. Business wise, when you get big enough, especially if you have emissions vehicles, that's the way to run the business. You get it, you run it through the warranty, and when the warranty's up, you unload it on an owner operator or lease purchase driver, and and that you keep your costs down. That truck costs you nothing, technically, and you're just making revenue with it. The costs are low, and you're making revenue. You might not be making as much as if you had a company driver in there, but if you lower your initial cost down, even if your revenue went down, you're still making a better percentage for profit and loss. So that's the way technically to run a mega carrier, is like that.
Well, you're absolutely right. This is not a mega carrier, but when these trucks get to like 500,000, they sell it to one of their company drivers, and the company driver become an owner operator.
Yep, and then they just go like that, and they don't have no problems. So the truck breaks down, that's the driver's problem. If he needs a tow, that's the driver's problem, and all he's collecting is revenue. He just got rid of half his problems, and which I'm not saying it's bad.
Well, I would say
like everybody that signs a lease purchase knows what's going to happen. Now technically the guy is given a little risk, but not much. Given leasing the truck to you. But there are some of these lease purchases that are totally ridiculous, where they'll take your maintenance account. They'll do all kinds of stuff. Those ones are like the sharkiest, ones of them all. But most lease purchases are, you pretty much know you're overpaying, but you don't have the cash. You don't have the cash to go take $20,000 and go put it down at a Lone Mountain now. Lone Mountain used to be you could get a truck for $3,000 or $4,000. Those days are gone. It's everything I've ever seen at Lone Mountain that has popped up is anywhere in like 15 to 20,000 or 10,000 and up range.
Well, I know you were talking about some Cascadia that was like 130,000.
Oh yeah, the Cascadia I don't know what dealer it is or who it was, but it's a 17 Cascadia, and it's got 430,000 miles on it. In July, it was $98,000. Now they text me, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and that same truck went from $98,000 in July is now at $62,000, up almost a 50%. Well, it was like 42% drop in price. And I'm sure that's happening a lot of places. Some of these dealers are still hanging in there. Um, and I bet the new trucks, the brand new trucks, are going to be the last ones that you're ever going to see the price maybe drop in it. Or they'll start giving out really good incentives. I think is what'll happen because there's already a lot of carriers that have canceled their orders. Um, so
You think we'll see
uh,
trucks go back down to $150,000?
I
Because
don't think
I don't think so.
I don't think we're going to see new trucks. Maybe some makes and models. Um, like I'm sure
Maybe like these
international,
internationals or something.
international LTs you're probably going to see because not too many brand new international LTs I've seen are over $200,000. I think most of them are right around the 180 range. Um, I think you'll see them probably jump down maybe 10, 15,000, maybe more. Um, but I don't like the Peterbilts and stuff. I've seen a few newer Peterbilts already. 579s that are sitting around 200, like $210,000. Um, that's better because they probably during the height were probably up there around 250. I bet they were asking for them. It wouldn't surprise me. Um, so I could at least see prices probably if you think about like you could probably get a new 579 pre-pandemic for what like 160 probably. I bet
Yeah,
you're going to see them you're probably going to see them settle right around the 190 range, at least under $200,000 is probably what's going to
that
happen. Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking. That's why I asked the question because I don't think we're ever going to see the. That was the norm. Everybody be like, "Oh yeah, new trucks about 150,
Which,
150, right?"
which, which
I think
technically,
the new norm is going to be about 20 to 30,000 more. Even when all the prices come down, they're not going to go back to what they were before. They're going to be about
no,
20 to
no,
$30,000 more.
yeah. With technically, like I could see paying that for an all new model, maybe right around $200,000. Like maybe I know it's basically a Cascadia, but maybe like the Western Star or is it 49X? Um, like newer models like that. But like the guys that are buying these 570, maybe the long hood, the 389s. I think what next year's or last year for them, the 389s. I could see paying over 200 for that. But like your regular 579s and stuff, what do they do with them? They put a new digital dash in them. Other than that, most of the cabinets all look the same. The truck still looks pretty much the same. Um, I could see paying that much for what the new 680 is that the T680 Kenworth? Yeah, I'd pay 200,000. It's totally redid model. There's something there. But to be paying like $200,000 for basically a Pro Star, international LT, that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, this
Um,
international, I don't want to trash the company, but the international company, but I'm not impressed with this being a brand new truck.
yeah, they
Um,
didn't. They didn't. It's still a Pro Star. They really didn't change nothing. But then again, that's why they're cheaper. They don't. The International are known just to be a work truck. That's what they always were. They
I
were,
mean, I guess that's why they're
they
cheaper. Yeah, I guess that's the
they
reason
they
why.
were they were they were the farmer's truck, and they were the white collar working man. They got the job done, and that's what they were known for. Um, they weren't known for their luxury. They weren't known for they were just known to get the job done and hold up as best they could. You know, but
Yeah, basically that's what it's doing. It's running up and down the road, but it's not giving you any luxuries, any comfort, any nothing, man.
well, I mean, I could see compared to like if it was a decently spec LT, I could see why it would be better than this thing that I'm in, the 4900. But to be honest, I got a big cab. I paid nothing for it because nobody really wants these damn things. I mean, technically, like I said before, this truck when I bought it was really only worth $18,000, maybe 20, just because the mileage was low on it for the year. Um, and I paid what like 20, a little over $25,000 for it. and the guy threw in some stuff with it, and headache rack and stuff like that. But um, it was still an old truck, and it's I know before when I pulled the dash apart, it spent some of its life as a container truck, so you know what that means. It was just work. So I got what I paid for technically. I wish I didn't have as many repairs in a row as I have. Bad luck, but uh, at least in this market, even with that and maybe my $30,000 in costs, I'm still trucking down the road cheaper than most guys. Well, I think the average semi truck most guys were buying was probably about around $100,000 there for a while, and that was for a used one. It was normally like $20,000 or $30,000. You know,
Well, I often run the numbers, having an '07 truck, and every time I run the numbers, I'm like, if I couldn't work, if I couldn't make it work with a paid off truck, I just wouldn't do it because it's no way. Like with this truck, I can't take any vacation. Anytime I want to take a day off, I'm like, well, well, man, you're paying $1,000 a week. How are you going to take it? I'm like, okay, well, I got to go work. Like so. Forget about taking any time off. So like, if I couldn't make it work with that truck, it's just not for me. But I think the thing I always come back to with the repairs is I keep telling myself well, if I repaired it, it's not going to break again. So eventually I got to run out of stuff to repair, right? Because I just fixed the XY. I just replaced the XY shifter. I got a rebuild on the engine, everything, camshaft, turbo, head, everything. I'm like, well, what can go wrong now, right?
yeah, yeah. That's pretty much where I am now. Like I've got injectors. I think there's only one. I didn't replace one. That's it. I know I got oil leaks, but I'm not going to touch these oil leaks because most of them are $3,000 to fix them. And by the time you pull everything apart, you might as well already do an in frame. Uh, but most of I got new tires, I got new brakes, new drums. Sure, I can put some. I need to put airbags on it. I probably could put a set of shocks on it. But I'm running out of stuff to really go bad. It's got a new radiator. The air conditioner's working, new air conditioner compressor, new belts, new pulleys. I replaced all the hoses on it when I bought the truck. Uh, the differential, the power divider's used, but when I pulled the old one apart, I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. So, I'm probably going to be good there for a while. Um, and there ain't much else really left to break on the truck, except the biggest thing is the engine and the clutch, I guess. Right, I would say right now, if the clutch decided to go, I'd probably be slightly up shit's creek. Like pretty much, me and my wife made an oath that if the business account, and I could always pull out of the savings I have for the taxes. But we kind of pretty much said that if I had to start pulling out of savings, the actual, our home savings to keep this truck going, that's pretty much it. Um, it's just not, it's not feasible then, I guess you could say. Plus, she would probably kill me, but that's true too. Like with that, there's some guys out here that literally live in the truck. I see it all the time on Facebook. They talk about how they only got like a 60 or 70 cent a mile or 80. They don't take into account their call. They don't take into account what they want to pay themselves. They just live in the truck. They're living the nomad trucker life, and you either got the old timers or the ones that are really loners doing that, which they'll take anything. They don't care. If it goes out to Vegas and if it's cheap and they want to go out to Vegas, they're just going to take it because they live in the truck. They have no bills, besides the truck. You got guys like that, and then you have the other half that, I don't, that they're foreign. All right, and any this living in a truck compared to like living in Haiti or some of these South American countries is a blessing. It has air conditioning, has heat, and nice bed, no bugs and stuff, no mosquitoes. If they're making like $500 or $600 a week, they're they're happy as shit, and they're sending the money home. So they don't care what they take either. They'll run dirt cheap. You get a couple brokers that find a bunch of guys like that, man. Those brokers are money coming hand over fist, and that's that's some of what I'm thinking. The truck it used to be the trucking business back in the 80s and 90s is if you got into as an owner operator, you're running it strictly as like a business, like not a lifestyle, not a way to get off the street. It was a business to buy a big house, support your family, buy some nice cars, and and grow your business. Now it's turned into I don't know it's almost like a con. And I wouldn't say a con because most of these guys let themselves do this. They don't have any initiative to go farther or go big or go home. Um, they're just content with what they are, with what they're at. And I think that's one thing that hurts this you know this as a company, as a business. I think that's what hurts a lot of profit margins because some guys just don't have any. They don't. They're fine living in the truck. They're happy. That's you get enough of those guys, and it's turned into turned into, am I going to get the landscaping company to cut my lawn, or am I going to get the guy down the road, sure, he might show up, a little buzz, has a case of beer in his truck and his cooler, but he'll show up, he'll cut the lawn okay, and kind of get the job done. Or are you going to hire the damn landscaper? Well, landscaper's going to charge you what, $300-$400 a month? That guy's going to charge you $20. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's perfectly content with his $20. So, and what that does is it puts the legitimate, landscaper that's trying to run support his family, run a real business. It just puts him, it just cuts another nail in the coffin for him. And I think that's the same way it's going on with owner operators now. To be honest, I think this business should be harder initially to get into. I don't think you should be able to get your authority so easily. You practically have people throwing trucks at you. I hate to say that, but I at least I don't think it should be unattainable. Like I don't think you should have to pay $30,000 to get your authority. But I think it wouldn't be reasonable to ask for like $1,000 or $1,500 or $5,000 to get your authority. I don't see that being unreasonable, and that'll keep most of the guys that just live paycheck to paycheck. That'll keep them out of the business.
I mean, well, but that's
I
still
hate
the
to say
case.
that.
I mean, that's still the case because you got to get your insurance, so you got to have a down payment for the insurance.
Well, I mean, that also depends where you're at. Like with me, my insurance down payment was only like $2,000 when I went to got my authority there for a little bit, right before the pandemic hit, and then I pulled it out because I was like, this is going to go bad. And you know what? If I could have maybe stuck with that and just held out, and maybe let my authority go active, and maybe took the truck off or let it sit. I could have probably did really well for myself because I would have just hopped in the truck, went fully active when the rates came back, and I probably would have done good. But I pulled out of all that. I thought it was going to go, tank, which it basically did there for a while. But I know there's guys in Florida talk about like having to have a $15,000 down payment and stuff or more.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that. I mean, that's kind of, that's.
But I mean, if you think about it, even like an initial start for most legitimate landscapers, you're going to have to at least have a pickup truck. You're going to at least have to have a decent, maybe $500 mower and stuff. And no, you're not exactly going to have. No one's going to just throw a landscaping truck at you and say, "Here you go, lease purchase landscaping truck. Here you go. Here's financing for your lawnmowers right off the bat." Most of that you're gonna have to work up to. But with trucking, though, it's totally different. You can jump right into this. You can get your CDL, and next thing you know, right out of CDL school, if you can afford to pay the down payment on insurance, you can have your own semi truck and your own MC and everything.
Honestly, what I think it is a lot of these carriers now are popping up, and they're getting new trucks, and a lot of people want to lease onto a carrier and have a truck from what is it RSI or something like that you know those
RTI,
yeah RTI whatever those
Riv-
those
River,
lease
whatever it is.
yeah those lease trucks SFI that's what it was
Oh, SFI, yeah.
yeah
Well,
SFI trucks.
they're all the same. Any of them or Prime or any of them. If you're going to really have to do a lease, make sure it's a lease that you have control of the truck and you could take anywhere you want. What I noticed when I was at Prime and other mega carriers, because I was with Auto Express and stuff, if things hit the fan, like how the market is right now, if the market hit the fan at all, or it just so happens they didn't have customer freight in an area that they stuck you in, guess what? The dispatcher's gonna be like, well, you can sit it for 2 or 3 days until we find you something. And if you're almost near the end of your lease, guess what? As soon as you go under, they just take the truck back and do it to the next person. Now, if you can self dispatch, you got at least you have you kind of control your destiny. The same thing if you can take the truck and go anywhere you want with it. Like I would say, probably out of the whole thing, out of most of the lease purchases I've ever heard of from a mega carrier, Crete has the best lease purchase because technically you're like buying it. You actually have a loan. I mean, you can start out kind of like a traditional lease purchase, but it ends up like almost having a loan with that. That or going to Lone Mountain and getting your own truck. Those are probably the best things. There's also a place called Accelerated Leasing out of in where was that? Indiana. Those are all you can take the truck anywhere you want. Now the only thing I'm going to say is about I don't know about Lone Mountain, but I guess there for a while they did when everybody was lease purchasing those Max Forces. If you still see any of them, or you're out there looking right now, if you were watching this video, or on the replay, stay away from the Max Forces unless you have like 20 grand laying around to just decide to throw a EGR cooler in them. Stay away from them. They are good buys. You can keep them running and everything goes great for a while, or you get them, the D word. If we don't want to say that too much anymore because apparently they're crushing cars
No,
for that.
no, that ain't gonna
Yeah,
help either.
yeah, but
And
but you're
The Max Force, my cousin had one. Well, he still has it, but this is we're talking about 9 months ago now. But he only had the truck a week, and rod flew through the block, and oil
oh really?
started
Wow.
leaking everywhere. And the
Yeah,
truck
well,
only had it was an international with the international engine. Actually, it wasn't even a Max Force, just the international engine after the Max Force, but
oh
because this was a 15.
up until the late 15s, they turned them into the N13, but up until the late 15s, 2015s, they didn't switch over to that newer block or whatever. They were still technically the Max Force, like
Yeah, well, he's
so.
got a 15, so I don't know what it is. So it might be a Max Force, it might be the
Yeah, it
N
depends
Star,
what.
whatever. I don't
Yeah,
know, but
depends what year it was. It was manufactured in that range.
I,
But
I know the engine ain't doing nothing but sitting in a yard somewhere. So
I
it ain't
had
working.
one. I got real cheap. Surprisingly, the thing I took a gamble on it. The thing ran great. I was surprised how like it made my pack car. My pack car it like shit on. Um, but the thing ran great. And I ran it probably for a good 6 months, and then the EGR cooler started leaking. I think it was kind of band-aid up, or just sooted up enough that it wasn't really noticeable at first. But I pulled the front off the EGR cooler, and I could see all the soot and goo in there, and I was like, "Yep, it's leaking." That's what started eating coolant. And I started looking around. If you can find somebody that like has worked on them before and done work on them and has no problem with them, you can get somebody fix them pretty cheap and keep them running half decent. But if but if you have like no money and no mechanical skills, I wouldn't even look at one. I wouldn't even think about it. But like if you have a shop that's worked on them and done stuff before and is not scared to touch them, I could have probably had that EGR cooler replaced for like $5,000 if I could find a shop that was willing to do it, or because you need to have a special tool to pull it out because it's like a cassette and everything. I was even thinking about trying to make something out of some ratchet straps and all kinds of stuff and do it myself. But then I called up the international dealer, and you're looking at about $12,000 to replace an EGR cooler, at least at the dealership I called. Um, some of them I think the highest price I got quoted for was like $17,000 to have the EGR cooler replaced. So
Yeah, that's
uh,
insane.
you know,
Like I thought replacing EGR coolers, from what I heard, was pretty cheap.
well, it's just a matter of what you have to do to get you have to pull the center console out of it and everything. I forget what they call it, the belly or whatever. Um, and it's just a lot of stuff in the way. And then if you're in there, you might as well replace the EGR, clean the
Yeah, that's
EGR
crazy.
tubes and everything else. So it turns into a little bit more of a job, and then you got to pull the. Most EGR coolers now are just bolted to the side of the engine. You take them, you chuck them. These were like aluminum, like aluminum shroud, almost looked like another intake, and you had the accordion, like the radiator or the cooler actually inside that, and it was pressed in, and you had to pull it out with a special tool. It was just really complicated. It was all brought over from, this is all technology that was brought over from Europe. So it's as complicated as it could possibly be. Um, but
Have you
if
had any
you
EGR problems with that Cummins?
my EGR, well, when I first got it, I noticed going up hills, I was blowing black smoke and the turbo was hiccuping, and so I unplugged the EGR and it all went away. Although I know it goes into a silent D rate, like I think 10% or 15% or something. But I have the EGR unplugged. I replaced the EGR, thinking, okay, now I got a new EGR on there because when I did the turbo gaskets and the manifold gaskets, I did the EGR. And as soon as I plug it in and I start pulling up a hill, as soon as the RPMs get lower than 1500, I'll start blowing black smoke out and the turbo will start coughing. So I don't have no other codes. So obviously there has to be a sensor messed up, either a back pressure sensor or something with that EGR system. So I just leave it unplugged for right now. Eventually I'm going to take it over to a shop and have it programmed because these older engines aren't. They just put a file in and it just it's just an older file for the older ISX, and it just deletes closes the EGR, and that's it. That's all you have to do. Now bam, you have a non EGR, pretty much ISX. But you still have the possibility of the cooler leaking, but without the heat coming in there all the time and it recycling the soot, very rarely will your EGR cooler will probably last, as long as you change the coolant every year or so. Your EGR cooler will last probably forever. Um, you know, give or take. There's always a possibility, but yeah, as soon as I get around to that, I'll have it done. And like I said, the engine wise, the truck runs great. It just leaks oil. The front seal, like most 870s, the back seal, right by the engine mounts, it leaks. It's nowhere as bad as it was. I used the Lucas stop leak; it slowed it all the way down. But I'm not going to touch all that stuff until either rebuild time or I buy another truck or whatnot. It just depends on how, if truck prices go down, sure, I'll buy it. I'll probably just buy another truck, and I'll either sell this or hopefully by that time I'll have my authority and I'll just do like a 1 or 2 year lease purchase on it for like nothing, for like $20,000, and say, here you go, here's a truck. Good luck, pal. you know, um, it all depends, I guess. I'd like to keep it, considering it's technically my first like truck that I'll probably actually own, get the title for. But it's no Peterbilt. It don't have no resale value. Parts are cheap and plentiful for them, but I don't know. It all depends. Like if I put nicer seats in it and clean it up, get it painted. I probably gonna have to put a new hood on it because a few days ago I got nicked in a Love's. They grabbed the bumper, and unfortunately, grabbing the bumper, it caught the edge of the hood, which the hood wasn't in great shape anyway, but it caught the edge of the hood and ripped some of the fiberglass off of it underneath the headlight and bent the bumper up. The bumper was starting to rust anyway, surface rust on it, which was practically a brand new bumper when I bought the truck, but apparently was cheap. So, you know, um, if I put a new hood on it or a good hood and a bumper, and if I get the truck painted, or I was thinking maybe even putting a wrap on it, I might keep it. I might put another engine in it. Um, if I do that, I might as well go the whole 9 yards, put a 13 speed in it, maybe change the rears. But that's all going to depend on whether or not, everybody's cost doubled. Tires are just about doubled. There's some tire discounts, like DIY was showing some good discounts, but there's still the prices are higher than what they were. Um, so it all depends. What I do, lose you? Yeah, I lost you. Oh, did you come back? I
Hello?
can't tell. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I said I don't plan on getting rid of mine. It's paid off, so I don't see the point of getting rid of it.
Like if I was going to get one, it sure probably would. It'd still probably be pre-emissions. Unless if I had more than maybe two or three trucks, then I probably would be okay with getting, an actual emissions truck. Um, but until then, I'm probably going to stick mostly pre-emissions until I have to get something. To be honest, I looked into those Nokia trucks because if I wanted to, I could probably get a small mail run going. I have some connections for that, and they would jump all over that because it's government, and they'd be happy as shit to have zero emissions trucks running mail and whatnot. But those Nokia trucks, they're like $400,000, 450,000. And depending on your state, there's some states that are giving huge subsidies, like $150,000. But still, you're still talking about what, like a $300,000 truck? You know,
Is there an all electric truck?
yeah, they're all electric. Those Nokias, and the only reason I like them a little more than I like the Teslas, I know everyone's talking about, the I guess the what happened there with the CEO and speculations whether or not they actually had working products and stuff. What I like a little bit more about the Nokia truck is or Nikola truck is it's already a truck that's out there in Europe. It's already has a platform. They already have parts for it. With the brakes and stuff. It's just the powertrain's the only thing that's electric. And to me it seems like it's a little more feasible than how Tesla as a whole. The whole truck's like totally from the ground up, and this is more of a platform that was what do you want to call it, re-engineered, I guess. It's still an existing platform. So to me, I feel that that's probably going to be cheaper, and it's probably going to be easier to get parts for initially. Until Tesla catches up with their parts and stuff like that. Um, but those will get those trucks. Are only planning to get like 350,000. I mean, 350 miles. Out of a full charge out of them. So like the thing I would be running if I was gonna, if I had the capabilities of investing in that, it would be a short mail run between like two or three hubs, locally in an area, and and that's it. It would run it. It would run. It's probably like 300 miles a night or whatnot, and then come back and charge. So,
Yeah, I
um,
don't. I don't believe in these electric vehicles, whether it's the cars or the trucks, because the way I look at it, right? If they're pushing if they're pushing for everybody to go that way, electric, right? So you're going to need to put the electricity into it, right? So if more people have a demand for the electricity, wouldn't the price for the electricity go up?
Well, yeah, electricity's going to go up. I'm sure they're going to somehow make your like everything's probably going to be taxed by mile. I highly doubt they're going to keep the tax the way it is, your fuel tax. They'll probably, since they're changing it and they know they can get away with it, they'll probably raise the tax per mile more than what the fuel tax was. I'm almost certain of it. Because they'll probably be like, oh, electric vehicles are heavier. They're going to damage the roadways more. Or who knows what they're going to say for that. Here's the biggest thing about electric. One, all this lithium mined and everything and stuff that goes into batteries. Almost all this material comes out of third world countries. All right. It's all going to be done unenvironmentally, most likely, or a good amount of it. I don't care what the videos they show you and stuff on YouTube. It's going to be, it's going to be like the diamond mines in Africa. It's going to be done unenvironmentally. Nobody's going to care because it's going to be all in, like I said, third world countries. So, it's just going to be what it is. And it's going to pollute worse than probably coal and everything, because lithium is a heavy metal. It gets into the water supply. You don't want that stuff, just anywhere. It'll kill trees. It's bad for the environment overall, unless you're going to like recycle it. But even then, there's probably processes that are bad for it. So that's the beginning part. Is just in the beginning, the process for lithium is very, very harmful, and unless it's done in a first world country, which is going to cost more, you're not going to get the environmental benefits. It's going to be a disaster. I have a feeling, for the countries that are just, pilfering the lithium out of these third world countries. Second, the electrical infrastructure. We've been trying to update the electrical infrastructure forever. Nobody wants to foot the bill. When I used to haul utility poles, when I'm not going to make this political, but when Trump went in the office, he gave a lot of money to electrical infrastructure, trying to update things, because I saw it firsthand. The power companies started having huge budgets and started ordering poles and replacing things and going full tilt. I was working on Saturdays and everything hauling poles. As soon as near the end of the presidency, and especially when they found out that Biden won, it's almost within a month, they were already making projections with their new budget at the end of the year that, hey, they were going to lose their extra federal funding to update the infrastructure and stuff. And sure enough, the poles dried up. We were barely, we were just making normal deliveries, and we weren't hauling a lot like before. So the electrical infrastructure is nowhere up to stuff, especially if you're shutting down all these coal plants. They make so much power that these electric cars are going to take, there's no way you're going to be able to do it with just wind and solar. It's just not going to happen. Maybe geothermal, nuclear. I'm more of a nuclear, nuclear power than anything. I would say it's probably going to be the best way to update the infrastructure. And then the range mileage. Like, I had a conversation with my brother about it, and he was like, "Oh, well, most people only drive like 20 miles a day or 30 miles a day from work and back." And I said, yeah, that's all good and dandy, but what about on the weekends? What about for other people? I said, a lot of people travel now. Like, in my area, we have, New Yorkers that come back and forth. They do a lot more than a couple, 30 or 40 miles a day. Some of them drive 100, 200 miles a day. Until they can get an EV to have like 500 or 600 miles of range, it's not. I don't think it's going to be feasible unless they can like update the charging network and have them charge in 15 minutes or less. And that's the only way I see it actually working, the whole EV thing. I think they should put more emphasis into hydrogen. I think hydrogen's probably more of a more of what they should try to get into, I think, in my opinion. Uh, but I don't have a degree, so.
Yeah, I haven't looked into the other forms of energy. I barely looked into the electric cars and everything. I'm just going off of how I see things in my head, basically.
Hey,
But
I'm still surprised nobody's tried. I'm sure some people kicked it around. I'm surprised nobody's tried to harness the power of lightning and stored it.
that'd be
Uh, you
that'd be
know,
good if they could.
I I know you're talking about you know trillions of volts and amperage and stuff, but I'm sure there's some kind of way they could harness it, maybe through like carbon cell technology or something. But it's it's just you would think considering all it is really charged particles in the air. Why couldn't you store it in some kind of vacuum sealed containment unit? I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there, but yeah, like it's funny how this all these companies, how we move so quickly to electricity, and the reason we did it is most of these companies were subsidized, and then they ended up going public, and then just so happens a lot of the politicians and things have also invested in these companies, and it's almost like they found the perfect product to like embezzle money, I guess you could say, out of the treasury. They say they're doing it good for the people. They take the money, they move it into a company. The company, of course, the stocks skyrocket, and just so happens their family members have stocks in those companies. So all they do is basically launder the money out of the treasury in through a company, tout how great it is for the environment, and then launder the money out when the stock market when the stocks go up, and pocket it. That's the way I see a lot of this green energy stuff going. It's just turned into a a smart a smart Ponzi scheme, I guess you could say, or laundering scheme. I guess that's I see it. Um,
I agree,
you know,
man. And it seems to me like because I was watching Kamala Harris, the vice president, and she was talking about their green initiative and everything, and they talk about this stuff like it's so urgent. Like Miami's going to be underwater tomorrow.
it was supposed to be underwater years ago.
I mean, it's so crazy. I mean, they were talking about how it was going to be an ice age in the '70s, and we're 20 years late from Miami
So
being
if I if
underwater. It's crazy.
if I remember correctly, I think the Clintons have a huge property on Martha's Vineyard. All right. If
Yep.
it suppose if the I think the sea level rose like 2 feet, Martha's Vineyard would be underwater, and 2 feet supposedly is not a lot. They say that freaking it's going to go up 10 or 15 feet or whatever they're saying. So why in the world would the Clintons, knowing that the end is nigh and it's near, why would they buy? I don't know what the hell it probably is. Who knows how many millions of dollars the property is? But why would they buy a property on Martha's Vineyard? Why would I think that I think is it I think Obama. I think Obama bought beachfront property, I think somewhere in Florida. Why? Why would they do that if they know it's all going to be underwater? And there's no way you can stop it unless we do zero carbon footprint right now, which they know it's not going to happen. It just makes no sense. And technically with climate change, I have my own speculations of that too. The climate's always changing. It's changed since the dinosaurs. How back when the dinosaurs were around, we had 60% of oxygen in the air. Carbon was like 30%, which today, if carbon was 30%, they'd say we were probably, the world would be ready to catch fire and all the ice. There were no ice. There was no ice in the Antarctic. There was none of that. It was, the world was basically one giant greenhouse, lush rainforest back then. And look, it changed. It changed after the dinosaurs. or whether that be meteor impact or whatnot. Um, you know, it's just the way things are happening. And if you think about it, all the volcanic activity that shaped and changed the Earth, how much carbon, how much gas, how much of that stuff went up in the atmosphere and changed what we have today? And
Yeah, I mean,
you think a little speck of humanity is going to change that in 100 years?
well, yeah,
How many thousands and millions tons of carbon dioxide and stuff come out of volcanoes? If you think about Mother Nature and stuff, and like here we are, our little speck of, if you actually count what they're talking about, our, I guess, what the Industrial Revolution, that's like a it's like a grain of sand in a giant hourglass, and you think that's gonna suddenly change the Earth? I bet you it's just naturally changing. It's going through courses that we just don't understand. We've only kept data on weather for what, maybe 100 years, and the rest is all speculation. It's almost like the people out in California and all that. California, Los Angeles, they're all the only reason they got water is because we built the Grand Canyon and it turned the Lake Mead into a reservoir. That wasn't normally there. That river would be almost a dried up riverbed sometimes, depending on the way the weather went. All that's desert. California is desert. If you just look at where Los Angeles is built, it's built like on the edge of the, or San Francisco, was it Los Angeles? No, it's Los Angeles. You go a little bit west and you're out in desert. It's all
oh
built
yeah,
on the edge of it. Yeah, it's all built on the edge. The only reason they have anything is because the irrigation systems and Lake Mead and everything. So you look at how much population you put in. Look at the LA River. The LA River is just a giant concrete, basin. It don't collect any water. It just shoots the water out of the city right into the ocean if it rains at all there. Yeah, like I don't have a giant, I don't have no degree. I just you can just think about logically the rain runoff. None of it's going in the ground. You got a concrete river, through the middle of the city. That water just runs down the LA Basin River or whatever, and just goes out into the ocean. There's all your water, any water you would naturally have there. And then they wonder why. Oh, we're having a drought. Oh, it just so happens. You know, Heck, when they did the watering dividing for, I know I'm going way off topic here, but there ain't nobody else really in here anyway. when when they did the dividing amounts of water for the LA, I mean not the LA, the Lake Mead. That was a couple of years before that, before they divided up the water to the states, and of course California got the most because they had the population and stuff. When they did the dividing for that, the upper Lake Mead and lower Lake Mead, they they did that in a year where they had above normal rainfall. So automatically those numbers are already messed up, And this was over 100 years ago when they made those dividing amounts of water for that reservoir, you want to call it that. So it's all most of the problems we have today are caused by one thing. Um, uh, Government intervention that has no innovation and no hindsight, and they just continue to do the same thing with expecting a different outcome. Insanity, government insanity, I guess you could say. So,
well, you're in Pennsylvania. How do you feel about the current regime in the office? Because Biden's from your
what
own state, right?
Biden was originally, from what everyone said, he was born in Scranton, and he was only in Scranton until he was like, I think like 5 or 6, and then I guess I don't know where they ended up, but so he's technically, you could say he's a Pennsylvanian, born but not really raised. He just so happened was here. That's all. So I wouldn't say he's, they named, I know in Scranton they named a highway after him. But heck, they did Delaware. They did like a rest area they named after him too. So I don't know.
Yeah, that state's 50-50, right? 50% Democrat, 50% Republican, right?
What Delaware or
No, I'm talking about Pennsylvania.
uh Pennsylvania? It's just the cities. It's the cities that are Democrat. That's all. That and a lot of the older. What happened there for a while is a lot of the older cities, like Reading, like the smaller boom town that were like blue collar cities, Reading, Hazleton, um, up through the coal belt. A lot of those cities used to always be red, and they all turned. A lot of them are turning Democrat is because a lot of the people coming in there are, I guess, I don't know if you want to call them migrants or what, but they literally had pamphlets handed to them that say, "Hey, come to Hazleton, Pennsylvania. You can grow a family here and live, and the government will help you out and put you on welfare and stuff." And that's what they did. They took these people and they moved them into. They got them out of because most of them would flock to the cities. If you think about it, and they got them out into these other smaller cities that were in the Rust Belt, and that's where they live now. So they're all hand me out citizens, I guess you want to say, or whatever. So they vote for who gave them the chance to, do whatever they're doing, I guess. So
Yeah, that's why I don't see. I don't know. I don't see anything that's going on in the political realm right now. Anything that's in favor of truckers.
right now, what's screwed up is you got the Republicans fighting with each other because you have the Rhino Republicans that still want all the control they have and still want the fame and get on like what do you want to call it? They still want to get on like New York Times. They want to be on New York Times articles. They want to still get a shot in and make their brownie points and drink their cognac with their pinky up and all that. You got the rhinos that still want to do that. So like Mitch McConnell and stuff. And then you have the MAGA or the newer libertarian Republicans. So the rhinos are trying to sabotage it and kind of like be buddy buddy with the Democrats. And the Democrats are so screwed up. They're trying to cater to everybody, but they're lying. There's just one giant continuous lie for them. They're either lying to their base, they're either lying to libertarian Democrats or old, original Democrats that you put an American flag out and they you know, still believe America is one of the best countries around. Um, they're lying to the far left, which is like Antifa and stuff. They're telling them whatever they want to hear. They're trying to tell voter, what is it, the independents. They're trying to tell them whatever they want to hear. That the economy's fine, that inflation isn't really over 8%, and everything's good. And sometimes some inflation's a good thing. Like it's just one giant circle of lies, and they're trapped in it. And the biggest problem, though, is most of the Republicans and independents can see it, but everyone over there is so caught up in the Democrat side, so caught up with them just winning and gaining some kind of power that they turn into a cult that they'll just keep repeating whatever they're told, even though they can see that they're lying to each other. Because are they really getting are they really going to get their college tuition dismissed like they all thought they were going to get? No, they're not. They're going to get a little slap on the wrist, like $10,000 maybe, and of course everyone's going to be stuck paying for that, including the people that worked hard and paid their own college tuition off. And who knows if that even really happens. But like anything that they've said has just been, trying to, they're trying to put fires out with gasoline, and it's not working.
I
So
agree. I thought the whole student loan thing was a little weird. Now I don't think they should give them more than 20,000 or the 10,000, but you do have to acknowledge, like, if you got $180,000 in student loans, I don't care if they give you the 10,000 or 20,000. It ain't really making a difference for you.
well, I don't see why people like some of the people like I know a lot of people that Here's what happens. They make it so easy for you to change your you like I know a lot of people that ended up changing halfway through college what they wanted to do or whatever. They make it so easy for that, and they're so willing to give out money because it's technically like guaranteed. But you have these kids that won't focus on something that'll actually provide them an income and life skills, and they'll get halfway through it and they'll either be I don't want to do it, I don't do this. They don't have no there isn't either you do what's going to make you money or else. I don't want to call it responsibility, but there's no initiative for them actually to go through with something and become a meaningful citizen of society. If you go into college and you spend like $150,000 to get gender studies, when even now the federal government is only paying you, if you get a gender studies teaching thing, you're only going to make like $50,000 or $60,000. You messed up. That's like buying a $300,000 semi in today's market right now. You know what I mean? You already screwed yourself coming right out the ladder. And I don't think those people should be helped. They signed up contracts. They know the risk, and they should just have to pay for it, even if it takes them forever to pay it off. $20 a freaking month or whatever. Just anything.
Yeah, I think we should actually start educating these young kids coming to high school.
Okay, so if they do this, when they give this $10,000, how much you would have bet that all these universities are going to up their tuition? They say they're not, but they're going to do it. They're going to say blame inflation or something or whatever they're going to do. Hell, there's a kid right now. I watched the video. There's a kid who literally taught himself. I think he took the test himself. I don't even think he went to a college. I don't know how he did it, but he literally went. You can go on Harvard University right now, and you can watch their science classes. You can watch all that stuff on video for free. You can learn everything that those kids are learning right online for free. And then sometimes he would just randomly show up and sit down inside these lectures and stuff. Nobody thought anything. He didn't pay a dime. And he ended up getting his college degree. I don't know how I didn't watch the whole entire thing, but he ended up doing it for free. Pretty much learned everything, and he did, I think he did physics or something that's meaningful that makes the world.
How did he get the degree if he wasn't enrolled though?
I think he took a test, like kind of like a GED or whatever. Was able to take the test and pass the test. So they just he didn't have to sit there. It's like he already went to college. He took the test and knew the stuff. So
that's crazy. I mean, definitely because like I remember when I was in college, I would
Well, if you look at the University of Phoenix, almost all their stuff's online and stuff.
Yeah, like even back then it was online. You could watch a lot of videos online.
Most of these universities have basically turned into used car salesmen. Those people who had $30,000 for that car and whatever, but if they can make the damn payment, shit. Hell yeah, we'll sign you up. We don't care what the interest is. The money's just going to keep rolling. We're going to get our payment. The government's going to pay your tuition. We're going to get our money. That's their job to figure out how they're going to get the money off you.
Well,
that's what it's turned into.
What's crazy is, I think if the federal government stopped giving out all these student loans, then the price of tuition would actually go down, and maybe somebody could afford to go to school.
Yeah, I think they should have, like, a lot of these colleges, if you look at like their majors, they got all kinds of goofy stuff now. Out of this world stuff. Like, it should be, what do they call that? What they were trying to go back to after the what was it? Obama passed that one law about education. They're trying to go back to like the science, math,
STEM.
Yeah, STEM. They're trying to go back to STEM, and that's what these colleges should be doing. They shouldn't be doing all this goofy, weird stuff. It should be, it should be like, you think Albert Einstein took gender theory
Come on. Like,
Definitely
just
not. Definitely not. Definitely not. That's one thing I didn't like about college is that you were forced to take all these classes. Like I majored in physics, and I had to take art classes and economics. I had to take a lot of stuff that had nothing to do with physics, man.
like, yeah,
So
that's what I. It's just all stuff to pat. As far as I'm concerned, it's just stuff to pat the, you know, whatever you want to call it, the credit system, or but like if you're going to go to college to be a doctor, that's what you should go to. You know, you're going to be a dentist, should be dental, and this and this. You know, it shouldn't be all this other BS. That's not what you're trying to specialize in something. You're not, you know, and you're trying to specialize in something and offer ideas up. It's supposed to be higher learning where you throw anything out there, and if it works, you just, you know, might have saved humanity. You know, it's supposed to be a place of ideas and you know, and research and questioning, you know, questioning things. It shouldn't be like what it's turned into. And you know, and like what the whole, and it's even more than just college. It's like look how we have a hard time employing people to keep the trucks fixed. We've turned college into, if you don't go to college, you can't make any money, and you might as well just collect your welfare check and, you know, go die somewhere or whatever. So now these people aren't going into tech schools. They aren't learning nothing. Hell, most kids don't even know what a check is. Like where was I at? I was at somewhere, and the place only took a check. I think the DMV. The DMV took a check, and I had the girl. The girl was like 20 or something, or 19, and she's like, what do you do with these bank paper things? I said, checks. She's like, yeah, they only take these. And I had to show her how to write a check out. I mean, it's kind of pretty simple. She just didn't want to like mess it up and everything, you know. And I said, you know, you can keep it in your register or it's going to show up on your online bank account. But I said, it's a check, and you know, I said it's basically like, you know, a paper payment of receipt, like, and you know, like schools and high schools and stuff should teach you stuff. Just normal banking, they should be able to teach you and stuff. It's you know, I can see why things are going the way they are. So, all right, did I lose you? Because I was gonna say I'm probably gonna get off here now. It's gonna be about 11 o'clock. All right. Well, if you watch us on the live feed or the repeat, um, yeah, we had a blast. We had, you know, a few celebrities show up, but it got late and I just kept bullshitting. So we went through a lot of things. We went through the market. We went through the train. You know, if the trains go on strike, you know, how that might affect the market. We've got into a little bit of a politics, which I didn't really want to get into, but you know, it is however you feel about it. I just pretty much was, you know, going into how I actually feel and my opinions on things. And if you feel differently, hey, that's you know, that's your, you know, this is America. It's the way it's supposed to be. I'm not supposed to hate you for having a different opinion, but that's how it turned into. So all right, so join us whenever the heck else I decide to do a live lead. Maybe I'll you know, get somebody else in here to do a StreamYard. I'll try to do this in an earlier time. Like I said, that's if you're like DIY, Cash, or anybody else don't decide to go live. That's, you know, got a higher rank than I do. I'm just a regular, humble owner operator that's witnessed and experienced life to the fullest. So, all right, well, have a good night. Catch everybody on the repeat. Please like, subscribe, listen to these, you know, chaotic ramblings, and have a good night. I'll see you.